So I was thinking a little bit about like liberalism as a whole, and I was writing a little bit about what the source of political legitimacy is. For people who have learned a little bit about political science, you might know about the state of nature, a sort of pre-political context in which people are just sort of living and vibing, if you believe philosopher John Locke, or slaughtering each other and not vibing so much if you believe Thomas Hobbes. Both say that people come together to form a political community, and Locke says that you do that to protect your natural rights, like property. Hobbes says we end it because it just really sucks that bad and everyone's always dying. What I find interesting is that they both use natural law as a foundation, but again, they use it differently. Locke believes that natural laws both pre-exist the establishment of government and are morally binding outside the context of government. His rights are things like all men are free and equal, you have property rights by nature, and no one should hurt each other. For Locke, you can be punished for violating these rights outside a political context. He has an explicit notion of justice, and a set of moral rights that come along with that notion of justice. Hobbes, on the other hand, sees natural laws as like rational ideas that prevent you from dying in the state of nature. So his laws are things like seek peace but prepare for war, fulfill your contracts and agreements, and retaliate as far as necessary to ensure order, that sort of thing. But since everyone's out there killing each other, there's no way that these laws can really be binding on individuals, hence why we form a government. And so for Hobbes, justice is a thing that comes into existence once you establish a state. So for me, this is what I'm thinking about. Does justice pre-exist the state, or does it come into being contingent on the state? I personally lean towards Hobbes's view, because I think how can any form of justice be meaningful without people to ensure that it's carried through? Also, where does it come from? You know, Locke can easily lean on divine law and God's will. Now, I'm an atheist, so if objective justice doesn't come from God, where does it come from? So I find myself forced into the position that justice is essentially non-existent until a group of humans come around and form a political community. As humans are basically just apes, I don't see how there can be a meaningful moral difference in a state of nature between humans and non-human animals. So we basically come together and pick a view of justice dependent on community values and the general will, kind of like Jean-Jacques Rousseau would say. But the problem now is that our whole liberal democratic world is built on a conception of natural law more as Locke saw it, and that there are moral truths, unalienable rights, that we form a government to protect. But Locke, at the end of the day, is theological with his conception of natural rights. So do I just disagree with the whole foundation of liberal democratic authority? I don't know, that seems like a lot.